Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today in this Cafecito Power Break of United Latinas. I'm just so excited to be here with a very special guest who I feel like I've known forever, but we actually really just met this
Literally.
past weekend, right? So with me is Denise Castillo-Eusebio. Who serves on the board for ALPHA, the Association for Latino Professionals for America in the Orlando chapter, and also serves in the Hispanic Heritage Scholarship Fund, also of Metro Orlando area, and does a lot of other amazing things. We've just had some incredible conversations this past weekend in an event that we were both together, and I thought, who else better to be my guest today in our cafecito than Denise? Denise, thank you so much for agreeing to be here at such short notice. Like you just jump right in.
Yes, Eliana, thank you so much for the invitation. I really appreciate what you're doing and the platform you're providing for us to have these types of conversations.
Yeah.
And I
I
have my
can't
tea. I don't have cafe because I don't drink cafe anymore, but I have some tea. I hope
There
everybody
we
else has coffee too or something.
Perfect. Hi, Hadassah. Thank you for being here with us as always, and everybody else that's always here. I heard of so many people that, have it on their calendar. Like, I'm always eager to see your cafecitos, me or Sandra or whoever is hosting. So thank you so much for being. And today, February 1st, I can't believe January is already done. We're already jumping in to the second month of this year. And it's also starting with a lot of celebrations that we should be doing all year long, not only once a month for Black History Month. And I want to start with a very important question that I think we all that are in this space live every day. It's about representation and the importance of representation in the spaces that we're in the communities that we're in our areas, and as Latinas, as women of color, we struggle seeing women like us or people that look like us, that think like us, that have the same, experiences or similar lived experiences in those positions, on the one hand to help elevate our voices and open doors, on the other hand so that we can see that it's possible. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know unless you see somebody that got there, and then you're like, oh, I can actually do that's amazing and inspire us. And I would love to hear from you, like, what has been your experience as you've carved your way professionally, because you've done a lot of great things.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, first, I want to share that I identify as an Afro-Latina. Yes. I am first generation. My parents are both from Dominican Republic, and I was born in Brooklyn. And I feel that throughout my entire life, it's been that situation where I walk in the room and I'm probably I'm usually the only person that looks like me. So my experience professionally, I've been in corporate America since 2001, so over 20 years now. And unfortunately, it still keeps happening. I still keep walking into a space and feeling like I am the only one in the space that looks like me. There are more, and with the recent situations in our country, more and more people are identifying as Afro Latinos as well, and that's great because we're creating community. But it's been a challenge nonetheless. Even with self identification, it's been a challenge, and it continues to be for many, I think.
And I think you bring up a great point that I think it's important to highlight the intersectionality, right? The because we are not only one. We're not just like what we physically look like or seem to be, or perceptions. We have all of these multiple layers of who we are that makes us, the marvelous human beings that we are. And that intersectionality plays such an important part of our lives, and the value that we bring to the spaces where we create great impact. But with that then comes a lot of challenges and barriers in terms of perceptions, and that we need to continuously fight against, or try to overcome in some way or form. Like you, I've also been in those spaces where I'm the only Latina, or the only woman, or I'm 4'11", so I'm not even 5 foot. So I'm also the shortest, right? Like I'm the only in a lot of different ways, and it's always trying to elevate my voice to who's Ileana versus who is, this person that has a perceived, belief of what the person that's looking at me thinks who I am. What have you experienced in from your point of view?
Well, I think that in the Latino community, we have a lot of work to do. Though, race is just one facet of us. We do have situations where we forget that we come in all shades of brown, and every single one of them is beautiful, and we should embrace them, right? And I think that the barriers that we have amongst our own community with discrimination, colorism is a very big one. Uh, it's something that we really have to find solutions for. Well, break down those barriers, because it's a shame. We should really be supporting each other regardless of skin tone. And and like you said, there's so many other things that unite us. The intersectionalities are endless. Having a conversation with someone, you can really learn so much more, and so I think we just have to stop judging on first at first sight.
And you bring up a very powerful concept, right? Colorism, which is hugely uh, like something that most of us, I don't know if all of us, but many of us continuously live and experience in a both positive and in a negative way, right? Because everybody lives it in a different way. And I think that that's critically important, to not see us. There's enough divide in this world for
Yeah.
us to, even as Latinos, to
Yeah.
divide, right, internally within our spaces. And when you and I were talking, one of our conversations this weekend, I think it was about how do we come together. And we were in a room of about 100, over 100 leaders,
Mhm.
of all places, with all backgrounds. I mean, all of us were together because we were all Latinos, but from a variety of different locations, heritage, backgrounds, history, experience, expertise. But I think what I was surprised was the unity of finding that common ground, of what brought us together, right? In terms of elevating one voice and saying, we as a community, as a culture, as a group of individuals, right, have that same end goal, which is the well being of our families and the impact that we're creating and the spaces that we're opening for everybody else. And I'm sure that through the work that you're doing in the scholarship fund, through the work that you're doing at Alpha and other places, it is about elevating those voices and addressing the needs of, without looking at these divides, but more looking at it, how can we all join forces and come together for the benefit of all of our communities?
Agree, agree. I think it was beautiful. I was emotional at some points, just observing it all because I hadn't been in that space before. This was my first time. That was my first time attending the Alpha Chapter Leaders Summit, and it was great to see how we just have this kinship. I think the minute that when I've come during my experiences, the minute that someone knows that I am Latino, if I'm speaking to another Latino, immediately that kinship forms, right? But it's only after you learn that one, little facet of me that sometimes that develops. And I think we need to keep creating those types of environments, those communities and moments for people to continue connecting on that type of level. I think that there's an opportunity here for a lot of conversation and some exploration. I think that um, your network really truly needs to be diverse, and I think that if one can take some time to really assess how their network is, how diverse it is. If you have one Black friend or one Asian or one Indian friend, you have to, sit back and say, is my network really diverse? And then take some action and change it. And I think that's what's going to help us to continue that unity amongst all people of all race and all cultures and all places. You said.
I love what you're saying because I don't think we do that enough. And it's really about the connection, right? You immediately said it. Like the moment that you start having the conversation or somebody starts having the conversation with you that is Latino and they find out that you're Latina through that conversation, that immediately a bond, an unspoken bond forms, and then you start finding commonalities
Yeah.
and then other things, more of uh, emotion start to be created. But that's only if we take that step of of making the conversation, of getting to know somebody, of understanding, who they are beyond what we're looking at, and really finding that common ground. And I love your call to action in a way, because I'm going to call it a call to action, uh, right? For all of us to look at our network, because it might feel like, yes, I belong, I have a lot of friends, and I'm an introvert, so I really need to push myself out there. But to be able to say, is it really as diverse as it's in my mind? And once I heard somebody saying, do like a matrix, and put like, uh, you know, race, ethnicity, religion, like all of these different socioeconomic status, make a good matrix, and then put like your 15, 20 people that are around you, right? Like the ones frequently interact with, and see where they land, and immediately see the gaps, so that then, to your point, you can start building and be intentional and understand. Because if not, understand. And I see the comments on the chat instances of
Eliana, you're breaking up for me a little bit.
space, but I hope I get this.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. the lived experiences of somebody if we don't intentionally make the time, create the space in a non-judgmental way, right? Trying to understand. Can you good?
You're coming in and out. Technology, I know.
It happens.
It
But
always
I think we
happens.
have you. I'm
Um,
breaking up.
yes, you are. So
I am
I'm
sorry.
unable to hear you clearly, but I hope you can hear me.
Okay, then you get on while I'm connected. Okay, is okay. Is that better? Hello, hello.
Yes, I can hear you now.
No, maybe.
I can hear you.
Okay, Denise,
I can hear you.
you
Can you
have.
hear me? We're like the commercial right now. I can hear you though.
I can go first. Share your thoughts.
So I can hear you now, but I wasn't able to hear a good portion of what you said. So, um, okay. My thoughts on, unfortunately, I'm not able to comment completely on what you just said to me, but I think you mentioned call to action, right? So I do agree that that exercise is great. I think I've done it in one of our DEI classes. Um, it's definitely a really good thing to do. And I think it's important that we continue to try to increase our cultural competency levels. Um, I'm focused on continuing to expand my network. I think that I've been able to find the opportunities that I've found because I just raised my hand, regardless of fear or being the only one in a space, pushing myself to be heard, be seen, elevating myself. Like, we can't wait for someone to elevate us. Um, that's what's helped me become somewhat successful in that space, and also increase my cultural competency as well. So I think that aside from the self-assessment, um, it's just really important to keep pushing ourselves regardless of the fears that we may have of certain situations, and that's how we're going to continue to grow.
Absolutely, absolutely. Can you now hear me? Am I
Yes,
good?
yes, you sound
Perfect.
good and you look clear now. Before it was just
Oh my God. It's Wednesday. My Wi-Fi is tired. And I was on a roll. What can I tell you?
Oh man, I hope
You
you sounded good for the others on.
well, I can hear the comments that we were breaking up,
Okay.
that I was breaking up, and that it was choppy. But I loved what you were saying about this call to action about um, making that self assessment of our network. And I'm an introvert, so I need to be very intentional about reaching out to people because it takes a lot of energy from me to do that. And if we really want to move together as one, right, and really create impact for all of us, we need to then be intentional about understanding others and their lived experiences, especially if they're not like us in some way or form, right? Because we might have some connections, but there might be other things that are not, similar to us, and our experiences might be similar. Like I know that something as different in my particular case as, yes, I'm Latina, I'm first generation, we just moved here 11 years ago, and then I see the difference between people that have been, first generation Latinos, but here for most of their lives, right? And their experiences have been dramatically different. So we really need to be intentional, like you say, and I love that call to action of reaching out to each other, understanding our challenges, our barriers, and then how can we help each other to then elevate our voices and support us. Because what's the phrase, like, when you rise, I'll rise, or something
We all
about rise.
rise.
Exactly. Yeah. Not very good at quotes. So I love that. I love that. I think it's very important. And you gave us some great things to think about. Any additional things that come to mind as we are about to get to the close of our cafecito? We're in the beginning of the month. We're at the beginning of the year. So I think we're still in that space of creating goals
Yeah.
and seeing what happens.
Yeah, I mean, and it's Black History Month. I think it's, with the everything that's happening in our country, it's a time for us to really stand together and help each other. I think that and pray. We've got to find a. It's just it's sad, and I think, the first thing that comes to my mind is just how much more we need to do as a people to make our country better. It's a beautiful country, but there's a lot of work that we can do together to make it better. And I say for Black History Month, focus on trying to help others in where you can, volunteering. That's one of my passions. So my final thought is, volunteer. As you mentioned, you started with the call. Those two roles, the first two roles are volunteer roles. So if you can, raise your hand and do something for someone else. I think that's the purpose of every human being. Yeah.
I think that's critically important. And I'm putting your LinkedIn. I hope you don't mind, so that people connect with you. And also join us at United Latinas as well, so that we can continue to connect and support each other. Because you're right, it's all of us coming up as one that we will create true change. And thank you for sharing on the chat, right? Unity is intentional. We really need each other, and it is a beautiful world. It is a beautiful the spaces that we're in and everything that's happening right now in our different communities, even like the Asian community. All of us were suffering in so many different ways. That we need to see us as one human race, right? It's also mentioned on the chat, versus what I think there's more things, and I saw this in a research somewhere, there's more things that we have in common than the ones that we have apart. So we need to focus on those commonalities and those things that we have in common versus the differences, because that's what's going to make a difference for our families and for those of us for the new generations that are coming up, because I think it's going to be important that we do that.
I agree. It's a great wrap up.
Thank you so much, Denise. I was just so happy. I'm sorry that my Wi-Fi suddenly got on the fritz, but it happens, right? That's how we roll. To everybody watching, join us at United Latinas. We also have great events that are happening this month. So take a look in our website and our different social media platforms. Look at our events. We have our entrepreneur roadmap coming up with our own Sandra Noemi Torres, who's going to take us through how to build your business and all the wonderful things that you need to know and when starting a business or growing a business. She's an expert at that. That's what she does. So she's going to take us through all of that expertise in her workshop that's scheduled for February 9th. Then we have a wonderful workshop also on our Build Your Power series from Dr. Anita. We're so excited to have her. It's just such an honor with Your Powerful Essence. That's on February 16th. And just check that one out because you're not going to want to miss it. All the things that Dr. Anita is going to share with us on how to really build and strengthen our power. And then we're going to have our mastermind. We have a mastermind with Maritza Coscarelli. She is just incredible in all the work that she does in terms of leadership presence and help us build that leadership presence. So the first one of the series of the masterclass is happening on February 23rd. So check that one out as well. And then we have another one coming up in March for Building Your Wealth series with Oriana Falkowski, who was actually the guest last week. So you won't want to miss that one as well on how to build your wealth. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Denise, for being here with me today. And thank you, everybody, for attending our Cafecito Power Break. Join us and let's continue to
Yeah,
work together.
all that great content you have coming up. I'm going to be a regular, a weekly viewer. So I will see you next week.
Absolutely. Have a good one, everybody.
You too.